They say a man can't change. They say your past defines you. But I learned it only defines you if you let it. We are worth more than our worst decisions, and I'm here to prove it. I came home with nothing but a bag and a dream, a heart full of pain but a vision to redeem. Gray sweatpants, white tee, but my soul was clean. Cause freedom ain't the gate, it's the fight in between. They wrote me off, said he'll fall again, but they ain't seen a man reborn from within. Had to break old chains just to breathe again. Had to lose myself to find who I've been. Now I walk with purpose, no mask, no front. I ain't hiding from my past, I confront what it was. See, the system took time, but it couldn't take my heart. And that's why my mindset got its start. We are worth more than our worst mistakes. We can rise again no matter what it takes. You can't rewrite the past, but you can change the page. It's never too late to walk out that cage. Real change is possible, I'm living proof. If I can make it out, so can you. From the bottom to belief, yeah, the truth is clear. Why not mindset, that's why we're here. From the halfway house to the life I built. Had to face my demons, had to shed that guilt. No roadmap, no handouts, just faith and grind. Turned every closed door to a state of mind. I've been the lost, the broken, the doubted too, but I found my calling when I spoke my truth. Now I'm reaching back for the ones in chains, telling them freedom starts in your brain. You ain't a number, you ain't your chart. You're the reason change can hit that large. We rebuild the spirit, not just a plan. We teach them how to stand, man to man. This ain't about perfection. It's about progress. About building a life that proves the comeback is stronger than the setback. We are worth more than our worst mistakes. Every fall's a chance that grace remakes. If I can rise from the pain and the shame, then so can you. Believe in your name. Real change ain't easy, but it's real as breath. I found life on the other side of death. From the cell to the streets, now the message is clear. Why not mindset, the reason we're here. Don't let your past be your prison. Let it be your teacher. Because change is real, I'm living proof. So when the world doubts you, just whisper back, why not?
Okay, welcome everyone. Tonight is the final night of the live stream, and I just want to take a moment and let everyone let that sink in. Over the past few days here at the National Reentry Conference here in Little Rock, Arkansas, we've had the conversations that really matter. Not surface level, not scripted, but real conversations about what reentry actually looks like. We have heard about the struggles, the setbacks, the victories that don't always get seen, and the people out here every day doing the work to change lives. This live stream, Beyond the Conference, Reentry in Action, was never about just going live. It was about opening the door for people who couldn't be in this room, be in the multiple rooms. These stories, these solutions reach beyond these walls, because reentry doesn't happen in a conference. It happens in real life. So tonight we're going to lean in. We're going to talk real. We're going to share our truths. And we're going to continue building something bigger than any of us could ever imagine. My name is Rustin Pangburn. I am the founder of Why Not Mindset, and this is Beyond the Conference, Reentry in Action. Welcome, everybody. What I think we're going to start off doing is we're going to give a little brief 15 second intro to who we are. And if John Walton is having his sound okay, are we okay, John? Okay, we're okay. Okay, I'll kick it off, and I think what I'll do is I'll introduce myself, and then I think we can go across the waters in England, and then I would like to start off with Nadieal, and then Christy, and then we'll let John Walton, and then we'll just have a conversation about what we experienced and what we saw, and I'm sure I don't have to say it, but let's try to keep it clean and make sure we don't say any foul language in case we have some students watching. So I'll kick this off. I am Rustin Pangburn. I am the founder of Why Not Mindset. I am someone who has lived through incarceration and rebuilt my life from the ground up. Why Not Mindset is about redefining second chances by focusing on the first critical 90 days after being released, providing real support, guidance, mentorship, and accountability. But most importantly, belief that you are worth that second chance. Our vision is simple: to build a network of second chances to show people what is actually possible out there. So, John, over in England, across the waters, how about you go next?
Yeah, thanks very much, Rusty. My name is John Reed. People over here call me John the Storyteller fella because that's what I do. I go into prison. I have been doing this for a number of years. I tell stories, I create opportunities to write poetry, and I get the gentlemen concerned, generally gentlemen, to write poetry themselves and to express themselves. It tends to get their mental health into a better place, tends to help them through their journey, through the jail system, and out the other side, and hopefully with the right mental attitude and the right place for their brain to be in, then when they leave prison, they will reoffend even less, and hopefully not at all. So that's John the Storyteller fella. I'm from Worcestershire in the UK.
Good afternoon. My name is Nadieal Ashe, and I am from Jacksonville. I am also a system impacted individual. I did 25 years in prison. I once had a natural life sentence, but thankful to God and Miller versus Alabama, I was released after 25 years. I just marked my 5-year anniversary, April the 1st, and I am currently a house manager at Restore in Jacksonville, Florida, where we house individuals ladies coming out of prison, and we give them a wraparound service as far as the mental health, case management, budget management, computer skills, education, and basically a step up to where you can have a hold on trying to get your life back, to get you back. And the main focus is on you as an individual. Before you can go and help family, you have to help you first. So it's basically like self-care.
Okay. My name is Christy. I'm from Florida. I am a impacted individual also. I did 3 years at the Florida DOC. I have been home a year and 8 months. Right now, I work for Overflow Health Alliance. Thank you. I am a case manager. I try to tell people I used to feed the streets poison and now I feed them hope. I work for a healthcare service, but we do wraparound services. So my part of the job is everything from documentation you need to housing to workforce development to transportation. You name it, I'm gonna meet you wherever your needs are. Work with people that are homeless. We also have a homeless shelter in Pensacola. I'm part of the traveling team. I travel and help open up new buildings and train the staff. Yeah, so my heart's in it. I love this stuff.
I'm John Walton. I'm the Director of Community Wellness with Why Not Mindset, and I attended this conference with Rustin Pangburn, and we had an amazing experience here. It was truly something. It's a holistic approach in the sense that they cover everything. It is truly holistic. They have so much that's here. There's so many stories. They have training. They have people that are giving classes. You get to connect with peer-to-peer groups that are supporting reentry. You get to learn about how to set up housing and how to manage that. There's so many great speakers that we had here through there. So many great sessions. It really was an amazing event. I mean, it's just, you can't appreciate it till you experience it. And if you experience it, you're going to be blown away your first time, because I was, and I know Rusty was, and it has just been amazing, just the amount of stuff that's there.
It looks like we have someone coming aboard. We're in the introductory phase. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, how y'all doing? My name is Oswald Newbold.
Um, and would you give us a brief, maybe 15, 20-second, just a rundown of who you are and what you're doing, what you're about?
Oh, yes, my name is Oswald Newbold. I'm the president of the board of directors for the National Association of Reentry Professionals. Thank you for having me on. Sorry for being late.
You all have been so busy running around, running in circles, all for us. So I think you being just a little bit late, I think is completely okay. What I want to say is, just before we start on day one, I want John Walton and I to hit on something that we saw last night. What we saw last night was something really amazing, and John's going to be all of us are going to be a testimony to this. I saw a judge stand on stage and marry a couple at this reentry conference that met each other 3 years ago at an NARP conference and got engaged last year at the NARP conference and got married last night on stage at the dinner. And that was something that is going to go down in the history books in my mind. Was to be able to hear to watch a judge come to a reentry conference and marry two reentry professionals at a reentry conference. That is something to put in the books.
Yeah.
And if anyone, Oswald, there is a little hand down here that raises your hand. If one of us is saying something and you want to talk next, you have something you can say, it's just so we won't skip over anyone. Just tap it. Well, hang on a minute. Yeah, you just tap it, and then you can untap it, and that will let the speaker know and everyone else know that that you want to speak next. So, but yeah. That was just last night, and that was just how amazing that the NARP puts together a conference. I told Rosetta, I told Miss Taylor just a little bit ago when I was getting this room that I have made so many connections over this past couple days that I've made since I became registered 501c3. Now, a lot of these connections I may not be able to use today, and I may not be able to align with them today, and vice versa. But as Why Not Mindset grows, they're going to be there to help lift me up. And when we get there, Rosetta said that's wonderful, because when you get to them and they can help you, there's going to be people under you that needs uplifting as well. So I have seen magic and power impact over the last 4 days. I really have. And Rosetta has asked that we do this every year for the NARP to kick it off, to close it out. And I would be absolutely honored that the NARP puts together 4 days and we can give back 1 hour of our time. And I think I would be honored to say, we'll absolutely do that for the NARP every year. So I'm blessed. I am blessed. What do you think over there across the pond, John?
I think this is something I've never heard of before. Until you told me you were coming to this conference, I'd got no idea. And when I listen to you talking about it now, Rusty, you seem to me, you come across as somebody that is so full of information, so full of all the people you've met and what you're going to get out of it. And only time will tell. But I think you've got such a large base of information now in the back of your head. You're going to sleep well tonight, I think. We really need something like this in the UK, Oswald. I don't know whether you've thought of exporting it to the UK, but we have nothing like this here. And I'm tempted really to go onto LinkedIn tomorrow when I wake up and write the virtues of what I've seen and what I've been a part of. A very small part. I did an hour 3 nights ago, and I'm doing another hour or so tonight. And really see whether we can't get a contingent from the UK to come over next year and come to your conference, because that would be absolutely wonderful. I would love to do that. The problem we've got in the UK is a simple one. There are many, many people running what we call a social enterprise, what you call a not-for-profit, I think, where there are kind-hearted souls, of which I've been one for many years, who do a variety of jobs in prison that help people. I mean, the work I do is inside prison, but there are many people who look after the health needs of people when they come out. They help them, they meet them at the gates, and they give them a mobile phone and start them off. There are others who help with somewhere to live. Some people help with work. But we've got nobody, absolutely nobody, that stitches it all together and generates a business out of the whole thing. So in other words, the journey that everybody makes, and Rusty's an expert on this, the journey that everybody makes from the time they're incarcerated and they're looking to leave to when they actually walk through that gate and they are a free person again. Yeah, sure, we've got some who deal with what I would call the easier to look after people, the fraudster or the drug dealer or somebody who's jolly grateful to get rid of his criminal past. But when you start talking the difficult people, the arsonists and the sex offenders, nobody does much for them. So I think we should, taking this forward, I think we should look to the UK to copy the kind of conference you're doing with a view to generating a much more holistic approach for everybody in prison, not just the ones that are obviously able to reconfigure their lives and turn a leaf and start again. So, yeah, I take my hat off to you, sir. This looks to me to be a wonderful event. And if it were only me coming to it next year, I think I'd like to be the one.
I would like to ask Oswald a question. If someone out there, Oswald, is looking at the NARP and they said they read that it was a holistic approach to reentry, and they ask you, what did that mean? What does that mean coming from you? A holistic approach to reentry.
Okay. So when they come with the holistic approach and you see that it's spelt a certain way, they put the W on there. So holistic, let's think about whole. And what we're doing is we're dealing with the whole person, the individual. How do you make help the individual grow as a person so that they don't go back to the behavior that landed them into the system? How do you help that person out with their reintegration into society? How do you help them men with their family? How do you help them men in the community? How do they become a productive citizen? How do they give back? So the holistic approach is we're not going to just pick or choose this or that. We look at the whole human being and how do we help that individual. But also we don't really focus directly on the client contact as a national association. We focus on the providers that actually do the contact with them. So how do we pour into the providers to help them grow better, to be able to help the end all, which is the client in the end? And a lot of times people kind of, how they want to work on some things and not other things. Actually, to make people grow, help people grow, you have to really get into the nuts and bolts of it, help them walk through that. And it usually go back to places of trauma in people's life. Even being born in poverty is trauma. You know, um, living in a house where people have substance use challenges is trauma. And so just that, sometimes people struggle in their adulthood because they never got over the things that traumatized them in their childhood, and they may not even know they was traumatized. So when we talking holistic, it's like, how do we walk through the journey of life and help people grow, whether as a provider or as somebody who's being helped?
That's amazing. That really is. John, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, I just wanted to say you guys have done a great job of, I feel like, reaching that holistic aspect with all the bases that you covered in the conferences, with all the different people and all the different sessions and everything. Um, and what's really built here is like community, and we are all a part of community. And even the people coming back from incarceration or people in recovery or just any situation, um, they are a part of the community. And really, when we build community, it's one of the things I learned at this conference is it's not just my responsibility. It's not just your responsibility. We are all truly responsible for building community. you know. And I felt like this week here, I felt like, you know, that community building is successful and exists and thrives. So, yep.
So, thank you, because I always tell people this not easy work. And one of the things that, and if y'all were in the room last night at the award ceremony, I mentioned something. NARP, we really want the people to come and join us that's really doing the work. We're not a talk shop. If you in there for a talk shop, I mean, go somewhere else where they want to hear that. We look for the real individuals who are doing the work. They may not be getting it right all the way, but their heart is in the right place and they're really doing the work. So that's who we focus on, because we'll go in a lot of rooms. We hear these great presentations. It's just a talk shop, because when you get back in the community, the resource is really not there.
Right.
And something I'll share is, when people have been impacted by the justice system, we really serve an unpopular population. And one of the struggles here is that um, people who've been through the jail or prison at the bottom of the totem pole. If it's between helping a child or helping somebody that just got out of jail or prison, they're going to help the child. If it comes down to helping somebody that's a senior citizen versus helping somebody that just got out of jail or prison, they're going to help the senior citizen. If it comes down to helping somebody that has a disability or helping somebody that got out of jail or prison, they're going to help the person with a disability. So people coming out of the system is at the bottom of the totem pole of everything, even in the way they're looked at or viewed, because John, the other John across the water there, had said something about bringing it to the UK. And I do stuff on a global level with the United Nations. And one of the things I found hard with reintegration when people come out of the system worldwide is the stigma. The cloud of stigma is thicker in some places than the other. So even if you come with these second chance initiatives, society looking down on you so bad, to how can you do something when the people don't believe that the people need a second chance? So that's a whole nother conversation, and I'm not gonna go left, but I'm really entrenched in this work, like locally and globally.
Amen.
So I'll pass it back to our great host with to carry the conversation forward.
I remember, if I can take a second, I talked about this a couple weeks ago, that I have spoken in many types of forums, whether it be at a conference, or it may be at another meeting, or in universities, or what I've had just about every single time that I have spoken in a public forum or a public spot. There is always someone that pulls me aside and lets me know that they either them, or they have a loved one, or they know they have a friend of a loved one, or a close loved one who is incarcerated, or is and is facing trauma. And I believe that is something that is not talked about enough. And there's also been a number of people that pull me aside and tell me that, and then look me in the eyes and tell me, and you're the only person outside my family that I have ever told this to. That has happened more times than once. So there is such a need for this. I don't know the right words to say. I believe we could say, I think I looked at a statistic. It was like 1 in 2 Americans have a loved one or a friend that has faced the justice system, and they feel like there's a stigma if they talk about it. So I think that's something that needs to be discussed, and let them know that you're not alone, and that we are here, and we know that, we understand that, and we need to break the silence.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point, because I'm sitting here thinking, and you talking about the justice system. In different states, you have some crazy laws. What I mean, I'm gonna give you a prime example. I live in the state of Florida. Florida got this thing called habitual driving offender. If you get caught driving with a suspended license 3 times, that's 5 years in prison. We just talking about caught with a suspended or revoked license just driving 3 times. They could literally shackle you, sentence you to 5 years in prison. they're gonna put you on the same bus to ride with the person that's there for murder, the person that's there for rape, the person there for identity theft, and there you go with your driving license, rolling right on with them. That it's just that easy to end up in the system with a felony, and now you got a background. So some people
Powerful.
think you got to be intentionally out there being a criminal to end up in the system. It's not as hard as you think to end up in the system.
Powerful. Across the pond, John, you raised your hand?
Just quickly, Oswald, we've got exactly the same in the UK. Prisons are not full of bad people. They're full of people that have made some bad choices. And those that are really harmful to society are very few and far between. I put my hand up though, Rusty, because I wanted to ask briefly to the two ladies if they're absolutely willing to answer the question I'm going to raise here. I would like to take you back to when you were within a few days of your release. How did you view being released? I suppose, Nadieal, it was a harder thing for you after the number of years you'd done compared with yourself, Christy, who was, I'm not wishing to belittle you in any way, but you were in for less years than Nadieal was. So how did you feel about release? Because I've spoken to men here in the UK that are being released after 20, even 30 years, and they're really frightened of being released because they don't know what they're going into. And I wondered how you felt about it.
Okay, so coming home, everybody's always like, you're so happy and they're so excited, but really I was nervous. My anxiety was high. I didn't know what the world was going to be like when I come home. I'd left my family, my children. I didn't know what my family dynamics would be like. I didn't know where I was going to live, what I was going to eat, what I was going to wear. Like, there were so many factors that, even walking into a store, okay? So think about this. Every day, somebody chooses what we eat. We're given what we wear. We don't make choices. So walking into a grocery store, a gas station is overwhelming.
It's not something that
Absolutely.
anybody who's
Absolutely.
not been inside can even imagine. I can't imagine it because I've never been there. Danielle, can you add to that?
Yes, I will. I was a little different from Christy because I had already made up in my mind. I've always been 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and I never allowed the system to take that from me. So when I was first released, the funniest thing was my sister was like, "You okay?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She was like, "You gonna freak out when you go in the store?" No, let's go. This is something that I've been waiting on all my life. Let's do this. So it was I felt it was pretty good. The only thing that really kind of scared me was when I had to go sit down with my grandmother. Because we had a not so good history before I got locked up. And that was the one thing that really scared me. But as far as like my nerves, and I was surprised at how vain the people were out here in the free world, because when you're locked up with a different type of people than what you have out here. So it's like, whoa, they're very vain, and it's like they're not they lack the compassion and the empathy for anybody except themselves. It's like it was all about them, and it was like, okay, I know how to, stay away from that. But as far as like housing and stuff like that, when I came to Restore, that was like a big step for me, and I never stopped believing or running because I knew if I did, I'll probably end up back where I was at. So the mindset of being released, it was, and as far as the food goes, I was like, when I went in the store, I was like, well, let's see. I already knew what I wanted. My favorite cereal was Fruity Pebbles. So I got the Fruity Pebbles. I mean, I knew what I wanted. I didn't feel all tweaked out about anything like that. It was just like a chill because I had already made my mind up before I left prison. I had 25 years to think about this thing. And then when I was going through the process, I had 6 years to think about it. So it was like I was already putting my dominoes in a row to do what I needed to do, for lack of
That's,
anything else.
yeah,
I
that's
had a
interesting.
plan. If you don't have a plan, then you plan to fail. So you have to have a plan, and you have to keep that mindset and don't deviate from that. Because I used to write myself letters and send them to my grandmother. So if I felt down or depressed or something like that, I would go back to those letters and read, like, where did you come from and where you are now? So and I will stress to anybody, you have to have a plan before you leave prison in order for you to succeed out here in the world. And I'm not saying, oh, it's going to go the way you planned it, because it's not. You're gonna get frustrated. You're gonna get aggravated because they want the probation people want you to do one thing, then you have to go over here, and then it's like the trigger where you'll get sick. Like the trigger is like, oh, I had to deal with this in prison. The one trigger for me was the lines.
It's
Yes,
interesting
that
to hear
was.
your
Yeah.
reply, because when I ask the same question in a men's prison in the UK, they will say to me, well, yeah, the mobile phones have changed quite a lot since I've been inside. And the way we pay for things, where we have debit cards and credit cards, and before they went in, especially if they were, with all respect to you, Rusty, and you had plenty of cash in your pocket before you went inside. And lots of the guys here, the bank robbers and the people that have done that kind of stuff, they also have got loads of cash in their back pocket. They're not used to dealing with plastic at all. So they put all these obstacles up. They don't worry about what they're going to wear. They don't worry about what they're going to eat. This is a female thing. And I know, I'm sorry if it sounds very sexist, but we're similar but different, aren't we?
Yeah.
Very much
Well,
so.
what I would like to add to Nadieal and Christy, a little bit both, is first Nadieal, she said that she had a plan. She had 25 years to think about a plan. And to add on to what Christy said about the choices, you're giving away the choices. I only did 60 months in the federal system, but I knew my only plan was not, I was not going to do this again, and I was not going to go back. I didn't come up with a game plan. I went in at 486 pounds and a 74 inch waist. I know that because in the federal, in the what's going on in the uh-oh, are we having problems?
We can hear you.
Am I
Uh,
echoing?
Little bit.
That is not good. It's not supposed to be. Okay. Well, I remember, because in the federal system, they tailor fit your clothes. So I do know that I was 486 pounds and I had a 74-inch waist. So I focused on my entire bit of myself. I put 100% of my time into losing weight, into running. I went in there barely able to walk to the chow hall, which was about a mile from my unit, close to a mile, and just barely being able to be out of breath and hustle. And when I got out, I was running 9 miles a day, and I weighed 189 pounds. Of course, I don't weigh that now, but that was my focus. I didn't have a plan. My only plan was I'm not going to go back. And to compliment on what Christy said with the choices, yeah, you aren't given any choices. The warden told us all when we got in there, we're not here to punish you. Your punishment is to be here. And what our job is to make sure you stay here and that our staff is safe and that you're safe. That's all this is. So we're not the bad guys, and we're not. And of course, we do have good and bad, but we don't need to get into that. But like the choices, I remember getting out and being so excited that I am out. The gates open. I made it. I finished my bit. I got square with the house. And then I stepped off the bus. And then I thought, well, I don't know what to do. I'm 32 years old and I've never had a job before. I've never filled out an application. Since I was 14, I was making money not legally. I remember the government telling me you've never filed taxes before. We don't have a record of you ever working. So I didn't have any skills. And at the time in the federal system where I was at, they didn't have anything. No one came in and spoke. No one, there were no classes to get you prepared. There were some classes I took. I took psychology 1, psychology 2. I took Spanish 1, 2, and 3. I took HVAC. I took diesel mechanics that were all, and I got my certificates. I still have them, but they were all taught by professors who were criminals, who were just like me. So they didn't count because it was signed by the warden. And it was a stamp that said Forest City, Arkansas, federal FCC. So it didn't count when I got out. It just basically was just something to keep your mind busy while I exercised and worked. But when I stepped off that bus, I didn't know what to do because I spent the last 60 months being told, here's 5-minute yard move one way, 10-minute move both ways, main line going this way, store day. And then you step off a bus and you're told, okay, you have 2 weeks to get a job or you're going to go back. And you don't know which direction to go because there's no blueprint. There's no one out there that says, hey, here's what worked for me. This might work for you. Here's a roadmap that I took that worked for me. Maybe I can share my roadmap or share my lived experience and maybe give you something that just might help you. If that kind of complements both you ladies, what you said, I hear you. I understand, and I felt that. I felt that, John. I think you had something.
I was just wanting to say that one of the things I noticed with like talking with everybody, like talking with Nadieal, Christy, with Rustin, with a lot of people that I met at the conference that have turned their lives around, that it really starts with themselves inside, with accountability and with the right mindset. And, those are just crucial points in making themselves successful. But it seems like every story that I've heard, that was always the first step to getting that done and getting that to be able to help them move along. And they planned that out like every step of the way. And so I attended a session with Les Young, and one of the things that he and I really appreciate is he's talking about lived experience and how it's so much more valuable than people really perceive, because it gives you guys, first of all, have such great strengths, but you're the people that they trust when they come out of incarceration. You are able to build better relationships. There is a group of people like myself. I hear these stories, I understand them, but I can only understand them to a certain degree. And past that, I don't understand it. I've never lived it. And so, he wants people to put value on their lived experience, and I think that's a great thing, because that's really what you have to do. There's a lot more skills and things that people are capable of that they don't realize. All right.
Nadieal, I believe Oswald put his hand up. If you don't mind, go ahead, Oswald.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna just share real quick. Now, the only reason I raised my hand, I've been searching everywhere. I can't find the button to raise my
Okay,
hand. So,
good.
Oh,
so I went
it's
the
it's
old.
right in the middle.
It's not
No
showing
problem.
I'm on my phone and it's not showing. I'm looking
Okay.
everywhere for it.
Yeah.
Right.
You
So, but real quick,
go ahead, sir.
I want to commend my two sisters there for your journey and being back out here. We're winning now. Even me myself, I went through the system. I did 25 years, 1 month, 13 days to the door. 19, a teenager when I went in, I came out in my 40s. I've been home now 9 years. But what I share is this: the same prison I was released from, I turn a key in it as I go do classes, mentoring in them right now. Yeah. So yeah, that's big. And I'm gonna just share like that. It was like a crazy moment. I just go out there to do classes. Usually my coworker is out there. So he was out sick and I needed to get in the office. So I talked to the warden, and the warden got the key to everything. He gave me his key ring to go down there and open the door. I was like, this crazy. The warden done gave me the keys, the master key to everything to go unlock the door. I'm like, boy, I wish that moment is one of them. That was like one of them all moments right there. I didn't have a lot of them, but that was
Yes,
one
it
of
was.
those moments right there. But I'll share this here too with the journey of incarceration and getting prepared. A few things. One thing is, I remember it's a guy named Musa used to say something to me. He used to say, Oz, you want for your brother what you want for yourself. You see potential in him, but you're going to have to understand something about life, and you got to stop frustrating yourself. He said, everybody not going to be Jordan or Kobe. And what he say, everybody not going to go shoot 1,000 shots in the gym. Some people will be okay just being that person on the bench that never touched the court, but they okay, they on the team. So when we look for like success, we may see potential in people, but they got to see that potential in themselves, because they may say, I'm cool with just traveling with the team. I'm cool where I'm at. I know I probably could do more, but I'm cool right here. And a lot of times, as we're helping people, sometimes we'll get frustrated because we see the potential, we see the talent, but sometimes they just cool with where they're at. And everybody not going to rise to the same level, but they still successful, but they are comfortable where they at. But I'll share this other thing is something I see in reentry, because we do federal, state, and local county jail down in my area, South Florida, Palm Beach County. So one of the things that happened with prison that messed guys up, one of the things, and I'm speaking from a male perspective right now, one of the things that mess up men is ego. In prison, you could be a big fish in a small pond, because you only a block or a block and a half away from everything. Food is over here, clothes is over there, a library right there, medical right there. Everything is in walking distance. And you get out here in this big world, like in America, it's over what? I think the last thing said 337 million. Now you go from being a person that was a shot caller behind the fence to out here where nobody knows you or care about you. And so I hate to say it like that, but I tell guys, I say, man, people don't care about you out there. I say, go out there and lay on the ground and watch how many people walk by you. They're either gonna think you're homeless or you're high. Not many
That's
people
right.
gonna stop and say, hey, are you okay? I say that's just how much people thinking about you. And one of the things with the reintegration part, I was just thinking about getting out. I converted pretty easy. The only one thing I struggled with, nobody told me that the soda machines had a touch screen on top. I couldn't get the soda out.
Ooh.
I wanted to crawl up in that machine so bad I was through. I was I'ma just share this here about when people are coming. I even threw myself out in my own thoughts. So I was talking about being a big fish in a small pond. But we have to look at something too, and the studies out here on this. When you are, and it's something Christy said, when you're incarcerated, because you're being told what to do, a person that's incarcerated only made 1/3 of the amount of decisions in a day than a free world person. Look, think about it. All you can wear is that color uniform. You only have so many of them. It's not you guys saying, am I going to wear pants today? Or the ladies might say, am I going to wear a dress? Am I going to wear shorts? Am I going to have a long sleeve or a short sleeve? What am I going to eat today? It's so your decision making is so limited in there, and you on top of being told what to do, what you do get to think is only limited variety. So when a person gets out, the world is moving faster, and we wonder why people mind not doing that, because the system slows your mind down, and it takes a while for your mind to be able to like process things fast. They have studies out there on that. And if you at an institution where they really don't want you to have a voice, that mindset you just get in that, let me just be compliant and just move and do what I gotta do to make my time easy for me. And that happens a lot. So people have to get through that and shed that in themselves. And so I just was sharing that because I see that with the guys a lot of times when they get out. Like we were talking about going in a Walmart. We could in reentry, we could get guys to make a list. They put cereal on there. They go to the cereal aisle in Walmart. It's so many varieties just of Cheerios alone. We're not even talking about all of the brands. It's like some people are so overwhelmed. They know what they want on this list, but they don't even know where to go in the store to find it. It was one guy he got so stimulated, he had did like 17 years. He went outside and had to vomit for a minute. And we like it
Mm.
just could be that overwhelming to some people. So one of the things that's good with people with lived experience can talk to things and help walk people through there. Does lived experience mean that we know everything? No. And but I believe that lived experience does have super value that could be given back to others. And I think one of the hardest things for a person with lived experience to do sometimes, it's hard to help others until you heal from your own
Yeah.
trauma sometimes. Right
So
there. So it's hard
Amen.
for some people to share their story. Some people want to help others, but they haven't really healed from their own journey right then. So healing gonna go on for life. We're gonna be healing to the day we die. But I think what happens is many people haven't really went through that journey of healing. Because the hardest person to forgive in life many times is
yeah.
ourselves. I mean, we'll forgive another person before we, because the things we did, the things we said, the hardest person to forgive is ourselves. So I just want to put that out there too, because with lived experience, are we operating from a place of healing when we helping others? Or are we operating from a place of trauma as we helping others? So I'm gonna throw it back out there. But I know I was all over the place, but I just was sharing that to the collective.
Thank you, Oswald. Nadieal, you've had your hand up for quite a while.
Yes, I wanted to say the piggyback with Oswald, it's like you have to have that the mindset for one. And the whole thing with Walmart just kind of tripped me out because when the ladies come to the house, we take them to Walmart with $100 gift certificate or gift card. And they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know. It's so much stuff. And I'm like, that's why, we tell you like make a list, and it's okay if you don't know. I have pretty much all night to just stand here with you, but I ain't staying here with you all night. But it's like, take your time. And if it wasn't for places like Restore and the programs that NARP does and the whole wraparound with that, trying to put everybody together, I think a lot of incarcerated people wouldn't be where they are now. I just said that backwards. I apologize. For the ones that were released, I don't think they would be further than they are now if they didn't have the programs that they have set up in the different cities and states, and the programs that actually work to help you grow and to walk alongside you while you're going through your transition. Because for a lot of people, it's kind of hard to understand. And I was like you. I'd rather have money in my pocket than plastic. But when they say, Ash, you got to start learning how to, build credit, no problem. I did. But it was aggravating to me. In a cell phone, I just cut that thing off because I didn't want to have to deal with it. I just cut it off. But I do think that NARP, as well as the rest of the housing transitional people that are working around the state, they're doing I think they're doing great work, especially from hearing from a bunch of people that was at the conference, and they have a heart for it. Some of them some of them are missing pieces, and that's the whole. I like how NARP and the people in the different areas brought it together. It's like they kind of put puzzle pieces and they put them together so everybody can collaborate and fill in the gaps of where they're missing certain things.
Beautiful. Absolutely 100% correct. I I noticed that on the first night. I noticed that we can all there's a big giant reentry table is what I see. A big table, and there is a seat for everybody, and we can together build a network of second chances. We can we could build branches for everyone, so it doesn't matter if someone's in Wyoming or someone's in Florida. If someone's in Florida and they're going to be released in Missouri, what I would like to that's what I mean by building that network of second chances is someone in Florida. Somebody can reach out to someone in Florida and say, "Hey, I'm home planning to Missouri. Do you have it? Do you know anybody?" Well, absolutely, I do. I just happen to know Why Not Mindset. Or someone in Missouri reaches Why Not Mindset and says, I'm getting released in Florida. I'm being released in Arizona. Oh, I know someone. I know George Nolan. I know George Nolan. I can reach out to George Nolan and send them that way. And that's what I mean. There's a big table, and there's no sense in competing. There's no sense in having. Let's collaborate. Let's tear down the barriers and let's all sit at the same table and figure out how we are going to fix this and how we are going to change this one size fit all system, because that's not how it is. That's not how it is. John, across the pond, you're being a little quiet.
I'd like to say, Rusty, I was listening to Nadieal there, that the concept of taking a woman into a shop and she doesn't know what to buy. You know, I've been married 42 years plus, and she's my second wife. You know, this is a new personal best, really. I just managed 12 years with the first one. But neither wives have had this problem of going into a shop and don't know what to buy. Indeed, the opposite is true, you know. They come home with things that I wouldn't even looked at, you know. I've got a wife currently campaigning to buy a garden shed, and I don't want a garden shed. And she wants a garden shed. I know now who's going to win the argument. She'll win. In the end, she'll grind me down and she'll get her way, you know. So the mindsets that you're talking about here are completely different. Yeah, I see you nodding, Christy. I can't imagine, you know. My wife has 3 daughters and I have 2 sons, and they are chalk and cheese. It's completely different. So I'm kind of learning off you 2 ladies tonight because, as I said previously, I'm about to go into a ladies' prison for the first time, and I'm really not sure what I'm going to find, but I'm hoping that the response from the ladies inside will be the same as I get from the men when I go inside. You know, that we try to take a little bit of the outside inside. And even when they leave, you know, if you go on Google Earth and look at my home address, you'll see it comes up as John the Storyteller fella. So anybody could find me as easily as anything when they leave jail. And my wife is terrified. You know, what if you befriended a murderer? I said, well, I've befriended many murderers. There's no problem. I'm not really interested in the crime. I'm interested in the person. I don't care what they've done. They're not going to do it to me, are they? And so I don't really get interested in the crime. But just occasionally you come across somebody that in conversation lets you know what they've done, you know. Excuse me. One day I was in a men's prison, and 2 guys were talking, and one said to the other, are you going home anytime soon? And the other guy said, well, yeah, I've got 9 months left to do, he said, but that'll be the end of 21 years. And I thought, my goodness, what's he done? So the next week, the 2 guys were chatting again. And it turned out that the fellow that was being released had done a double murder. And he'd gone back in because he'd killed these 2 people on February the 14th. Well, February the 14th in the UK is Valentine's Day. And so I happened across to him and put my arm around him and said, so you must be the Valentine's Day massacre man then. And he just smiled and laughed and took it as I meant it, you know, as something that just lifted the tone of the meeting, really. It wasn't that I was taking the joking with him, not that at all. Just sympathizing with his situation and saying, look, we're all the same here. You've made a mistake. I've made mistakes myself. I just haven't been locked up for them, you know. But everybody has a different view, don't they? So I don't care who I'm talking to, really. I wander around prisons and I've made some really good friends. People still inside, I'll still talk to them. Yeah, go on, Oswald, go on.
Oh, well, thank you, John. As John was in talking, something I want to share. A lot of times, it's two things society look down on a lot. They look down on sexual offenses and murder a lot. But those crimes actually has the lowest recidivism rates across the board. If you take 10 people that went to prison for murder and let's say 10 people that went to prison for burglary, 9 times out of 10, the ones who went for burglary would steal again, but those people who killed would never probably take a life again, period. So believe it or not, murder has one of the lowest recidivism rates, but the lowest recidivism rate actually come from those other sexual offenses outside of like failure to register. and I'm not saying that they may not do some stuff we don't know about, but in terms of recidivism, they actually move in silence and quietness a lot because so much is stacked against them in life. And, at the end of the day, it's up to the maker to judge us at the end of the day. No big sin and no little sin. And we like to put people in different pockets, but some of the things we frown on the most, those be the individuals that really change their life and their mindset. Most of them, maybe not everybody, but the majority do. And I think I'm not a big data person, but I think the data is good in that situation right there because it tells a story. It tells the story. But guess what? Oh, y'all don't got me started on something. When it
I
comes
think
to the
you're right.
numbers, people like to go pull a negative because that's what fuels to continue to get money. Oh, if we don't build more prisons, we're overcrowded. We're gonna have to let out violent murderers or violent people. So they're not gonna tell you that murder has the lowest recidivism rate. They're just gonna tell you use that fear factor to force taxpayers' money out to fuel that. And one of the things I hate is let's talk about recidivism real quick. I'm jumping, but I'm going to use an example. Let's say, what's the recidivism rate in America now? Sometimes I hear 60. They all count it differently. But let's say 5 out of 10. Let's say 6 out of 10 people go back to prison. That's just a hypothetical. They're going to talk about them 6 people all day. But what we need to be talking about is the 4 people that didn't go back and how do we reduplicate what they're doing to bring down that 6. They're never going to talk about that 4. They're not going to talk about these jewels on here right now that's on this podcast that's been through the system that's doing great things now. They're going to talk about the ones who still like bumping their head a little bit. I hate to say it like that because it's a money that the criminal justice system in many places, especially developed countries, it's a money making machine. When you think about police, when you think about jails, correctional officers, it even employs nurses. Somebody got to work in the kitchen. You think about lawyers, prosecutors, transport. I mean, appellate lawyers. I mean, it's the money. It's a multi-billion-dollar making machine per year. And if you actually reduce crime, you take the food off of many people's table that get paid for other people's mistakes. But I'm gonna let that go because I'll start the deep dive, and I ain't gonna do that to y'all tonight.
That's real. Yes, to piggyback on what Oswald said when about the murder and the comparison between the murderers and the burglar. A lot of people don't understand that when it comes to the murder, they don't want to know the circumstances in the situation of how that happened. Because a lot of the women that I was locked up with, they got murder charges. It was because someone bothered their child or they were being abused. And I might be wrong on some of these statistics, but a lot of women were being imprisoned for not getting the help from the police departments because they were being abused by their boyfriends or their husbands. And when they finally decided to say, hey, enough is enough and start killing them, that's when your population in prison for women started growing. And a lot of them are in for trying to take care of their kids. So yeah, there's quite a few that are in there, for what I know in Florida, that have murder charges that if you were to ever release them, they wouldn't come back because I don't think they will put themselves in that same predicament or situation to have to use deadly force against anybody like that. So I totally agree with what he said.
John,
Yeah.
Mr. Walton.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that, how she was talking about, women protecting their children sometimes and ending up incarcerated, for doing something that probably most of us would agree was the right thing to do in a situation. There's a lot of situations where it just comes down to simply the people that are looking at your case and your situation, the people that arrested you, and how they want to interpret that whole situation. I mean, one conversation I had today when I was talking to a lady who her family had made a game, to kind of help teach law and stuff. And one of the things she was saying was like, what about if a young minor female sends a picture to, somebody that she's interested in? And it was like, I told her, I said, when I was a kid, we didn't have phones that did that. But if we did, we would have done it. And it's like, that kid gets caught, they get in trouble. Now they're sex offenders for doing what really at the end of the day. And so, I mean, was it nothing more than just being promiscuous and just being kids growing up? And that label's going to haunt them forever. And so, I mean, the perception is just sometimes is the problem. So, but yeah, passing that note along.
Christy, go ahead.
So I agree with what they say. I actually have a friend that she was in an abusive relationship and her boyfriend abused her child while she was at work, and she came home and the daughter found her brother unresponsive, and they also charged her with the murder because she didn't leave the abusive relationship, even though she didn't know he had never touched the child before. She had been abused by him. She did not leave, so she put that child in a situation that caused the death. So now she not only has lost her child and is going to spend the next 15 years in prison. Just imagine about all the trauma it's caused and the environment she's going to live in for the next 15 years. It's going to be hard to work on herself, her traumas, and even work towards trying to figure out who she is or who she's going to be once she comes home, you know?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Very
Absolutely.
sad.
And she's
Very
too
sad.
scared to leave. She's scared. And then on top of that, she does make that moment of, I'm leaving. Where you going? How you gonna feed? You got the kids. Like, you got so much to think about in that situation. So these things aren't just simple always. It's not just right, wrong, white, black. It's not always that way.
John Reed, did you have something?
I do. You're not the only country in the world that's stupid with their sentencing. We lock up women for going into a supermarket and stealing nappies for their children because they can't afford to pay for them. It's too stupid for words. It's not a crime, is it? I would give the nappies away. I would just hand them out, or indeed anything that's for their children. A mother's bond with the child is often much stronger than the father's is, and the mother's doing her best for her children. So, yeah. So, Christy, that story you tell, to me, she shouldn't be anywhere near a prison. She should maybe get a little bit of psychological help.
She's a victim.
But yeah, going back to the double murderer, he wrote a poem for me that summed up the day he did the killings and how he felt about it. I've never heard such a powerful poem in all my life, full of remorse. And we ran a poetry competition here last year for the Prison Reform Trust, and I was one of the judges. And when we went to the awards evening at the end of the season in the autumn in London, I read this poem out to an audience of about 150 people, and you could have heard a pin drop. It was silence in the room because you could feel the man's emotion that he knew it was wrong to kill people. Of course he did. But he just served 5 years in prison for grievous bodily harm. He'd beat somebody up. And when he came out, somebody offered him money to go and collect a drugs debt. And they simply said, here's a gun. If they won't pay, shoot them. So he did. And that's what got him in 21 years. It's bad choices. It's got nothing to do with how serious a criminal you are. He would never normally shoot anybody. He certainly wouldn't ever hurt anybody ever again. It's a million miles from reality. So we don't have a fair judicial system. We don't. And if I'm honest, I don't look at your system as being fair either. I think the sentences that are handed out are just ridiculous. We have some people on whole of life sentences, but out of the population of in excess of 80,000, we've got less than 100 on that tariff. The rest are going to come out one day. And so while we've got them, while we're in there, we should be working with them. We should be helping them. We should be guiding them. And you can't do that unless they're listening. And I always talk about trust and respect. Now, they've got to trust and respect me, and I've got to trust and respect them. It's as simple as that. We're just humans talking to each other. The crime's irrelevant. I don't go in as any goody-goody two-shoes. I'm just me. I'm just John. And they all call me that. We have a great time in prison, but neither system has got a solution here. And I think what you're doing in NARP, I thought, is absolutely monumental. It's wonderful.
Well, I did see that we had about nine audience members at one time. I was really hoping to reel back in the universities that I believe we lost on the first night, because I did have the University of Texas at Arlington, Missouri Southern State University, and Ozark Technical Community College, and I was told that it was really hard to get in. So I think we might have lost them, but we did have some guests. I want to say, everyone here, that this is being recorded. So even though it's a live stream, it's being recorded. So at the end of everything, I will be able to send everyone a full copy of this for them to do whatever they will with and all that. I would I think if anyone would like, maybe we can give some closing remarks, and I would definitely like to give a lot of props to the NARP. And maybe each of us give just maybe a little closing remarks or a closing bit of inspiration, and we might close out with the Why Not Mindset song. And I would definitely like to get this up on the board when it QR code for the NARP, and definitely be able to give this up for the NARP. We've already tried this, and if you do scan this, it does scan to the NARP. I also would like to give a little bit of props to Enterprise. We reached out to Enterprise, and they did us really, really well for the rental car to get us up here. They knew our story. I talked with them, and they really was inspired, and they gave us, they took care of us on a rental car. And that's really all I can say about Enterprise. But I'm thankful for Enterprise. I'm very thankful for NIRP. Christy, you go ahead. Your sound is gone, Christy. You're muted.
Okay. I just wanted to say how thankful I am to be a lifetime member of NARP. I've made so many connections this weekend. I have like a stack of business cards of people I can reach out to, resources. I have books, like just so much material for people, trying to change or needing help or setting up their own transitional house, just all kinds of things. And another thing I realized was a year and 8 months ago, I was sitting in a Florida DOC bunk. And this week, I have sat in rooms with wardens, people who are over the program in for prisons, people who have come back, impacted people, justice impacted people who have come back and successfully navigated reentry. It's just everybody, and it's amazing, and the feeling is overwhelming, and I love it, and I'm so excited, and I can't wait to come back and see y'all in Texas next year.
Austin, Texas. Oswald, would you or Nadieal like to say anything, or?
I'll defer to Nadieal because I do a little closing from NARP on behalf of NARP.
Okay. Okay.
I just want to say, like, it was an amazing week for me. I wasn't even scheduled to stay for the duration, but I'm like, I need to stay because this is something I really wanna get into. And I am a lifelong member of NARP, and I would love to see them get more into the system, the prison system. I know that they're about the ones coming out, but it also inspired me to do a little more digging as far as being like a mentor inside the system, so that way I can do what I can and help whoever I can to prepare to get out. So that way they'll have a plan. So that way they can, transition properly or the best as they can. But I love the whole NARP thing, and I can't wait to get to Texas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A- a- ab- Absolutely. We have there. It shows that we do have one guest. Does that one guest, that one audience member, do they have any questions? We did have 9, but we have one now. If you have any questions at all, here is a time to have a question and answer. And I don't see anything popping up. There is one looky loo out there. So we got someone actually looking. John, in the UK, I really want to say thank you for staying up till 3 a.m. I really want to say thank you. I know that's not an easy task. And I want to say thank you to my sidekick, my vice chair, my director of community wellness, John Walton. He has been my wingman. He's been my best friend. He has watched me from the time I got released, the time I got my first job at doing laundry. He's the first one to help me break down the walls of not being able to trust anybody or being in my shell and thinking that if you come up and talk to me, there must be an angle, because that's how I was. Why are you coming up introducing me? Why are you bothering me? What are you trying to get out of me? And John broke that cycle of mine. He broke down those walls. He wasn't taking no for an answer. And we became best friends because of it. He's not my best friend. He's my brother. And why not take him on the ride with me? John Reed?
Yeah, just to close it out, really, Rusty, and to quote the words of somebody famous who's you will know better than I because he's an American guy, and the words I recall are, "I have a dream." Who was it who said that? I have a dream, because I can
Dr.
tell you
King.
that I have a dream as well. So you're talking about your conference in Austin, Texas next year. I've never been to Texas. I have a brother-in-law from my first wife who lives in Houston. His daughter lives in Austin, so I would be honored, absolutely, to attend the conference. And also to anybody that wonders what I do, I've got a little book here that I wrote ages ago called Choices and Chances. And it relates the 2 lives of me and my good friend, the wonderful Ed Flanagan, who was a career criminal. And I met him very early on in my career in prison. This is free to anybody. I can email a copy of this electronically. All you need to do is email me, and you can find me on LinkedIn. Drop me a note on LinkedIn. I'll give you an email address, and I'll send you the book for free. But essentially, it says, this is my life. This is the one I've lived, and this is the one that my friend has lived. And they're not in any way similar, except we've both got a heart, and he's helped me tremendously. He's on YouTube if anybody wants to look for him. He made video after video because, in his words, I'm an artist, I am, John. I'm an artist, because he doesn't use the letter T. He's just a wonderful guy. But if anybody wants a copy of the booklet, I can email it to them. No problem at all. But let me close by saying this has been a wonderful experience for me, Rusty. I will be eternally grateful to you. And if I happen to be in the same room as you next year in Austin, that would be a dream come true. I have a dream.
Well, I will go ahead and close this out. And I will say, from Why Not Mindset, thanking the NARP for hosting this 4-day conference and allowing us to have the live stream here. As we wrap this up tonight, I want to make a reminder. Reentry doesn't end when the live stream does. The work continues in our communities, in our conversations, in the choices we make every day. If you believe in second chances, be part of one. I'm Rustin Pangburn with the Why Not Mindset, and I have to say, why not be the change together? Thank you so much for joining this live stream. We will still be live after I hit stop, and thank you so much. Let's